We're finally ready there, Darce. You ready, George?
Let's give it a shot.
The Sports Trap, Ringer, George, somebody, which way? It's November.
Already.
And baseball's finally over.
No problem there.
Baseball's finally over.
So what did you think of the ending of the baseball, as long as we're talking it?
You know, to be honest with you, I want to say I maybe watched 2 innings, maybe total, of the 6 games in the World Series. There's just other things going on in the life of a busy guy, and you know, there was a couple volleyball games and cross country meets and everything else going on. So you know, I watched the highlights, I write about it, I listen to things, but as far as watching it, I saw Solera's 3-run home run that went out of the park at Houston on what would have been Tuesday night, Monday, Tuesday, whatever night it was, and as soon as he hit that, I'm like, all right, it's over. That was
over. That was over. Yeah. No, I enjoyed it because, well, you know, I wanted Houston to lose, but you know, I wasn't that crazy about Atlanta either. Yeah. But Eddie Rosario, he tilted the world, and so I like Eddie.
So I'll be honest with you, I don't follow along with a lot of the trivial stories that go on with athletes, but Freddie Freeman has got a pretty interesting story. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
But it was so interesting, I shared it with my wife, who we don't share sports stories. Let's just understand that there's maybe a reason why our relationship works, is because I like sports and she can really care less, unless it was hockey, of course. But having said that, Freddie Freeman he's known as Freddie the Hugger. He's kind of the gregarious guy. He's been with the Braves. This is his 12th season, I believe, with the Braves. He's 32 years old. And they get the picture that I saw of him, he's got a picture with his wife and his kids. I say kids because it's plural. They were having problems having a kid, so they got a hold of a surrogate and got the surrogate to have the baby, and 46 days later they found out that they were pregnant.
That works that way.
So they've got sons that are 46 days apart. You think the Eli thing's a big deal? That was a shocker? Tell me how big of a shock.
But I've known a number of couples that have adopted children, and by the time they get home, they're naturally pregnant, and it's just I know a number of people that's happened to.
So I just thought it was interesting. I thought, wow, you know, you just don't get those kinds of stories. But you know, now Atlanta's won their first title in 26 seasons, and you know, there's the poor Twins that are 30 years out, and you know that there's 30 teams, and you know that there are other teams that haven't won since the Twins won. So I don't know. I'm getting tired of Minnesotans, and I'll say why. Because they've got this defeatist, poor us attitude about our sports teams, and they walk around like expecting that it's going to change with their negativity.
Oh no, I had a friend that wanted to be, and I'd known him for many, many, many years. He wanted to be friends on Facebook, and I went and he got his Facebook page. Over and over and over again, it's anti-Vikings. Oh, they have never won. They're never going to win. They're just awful. They're breaking your heart. Go. I just thought,
well, you heard Mike Bolstead say we got to go into the 5-year plan. It's time to trash it. Yeah. Get a new coach, get a new quarterback, and start all over again. And I'm like, no.
I don't have that many 5-year plans.
No, I'm not ready for that. No.
Anyway, as long as we want to stop at the NFL, you know. Last Sunday, I watched several games.
Okay.
I watched the fact that Pittsburgh does not have a kicker, and they had to run 2-point conversions from as far away as the 12-yard line. Now,
I was surprised when they didn't allow their punter to come in and at least try it.
And
I mean, he kicks for a living. I know the punt and the kick is a little different, but you got to believe that if he's a punter, he screwed around kicking extra points.
You know he did. And he was probably at one point in time pretty good at it too. And so, you know, whatever it was, I looked at that and I thought, oh, that's not cool for the NFL.
Not cool for the NFL. No, I agree.
And then the other thing that I saw, and this now going to change up to the Chicago-San Francisco game.
Okay.
Justin Fields has some talent.
Running or throwing or both?
I saw some real running. He had a 30-yard scramble for a touchdown, and I mean, and this just might, and I mean, this was a spinning, but you will never catch him type thing. But
you understand that quarterbacks aren't meant in the NFL to run the ball like that.
Well, I understand that.
That's not what they're supposed to do.
Well, but a couple of them are doing it, and
they're going to get hurt, and then they're going to be crying in their proverbial beers that, oh, my poor quarterback got hurt again. I don't want to hear about the Lamar Jacksons when they get popped and they get hurt.
Well, there were no Justin Fields catching Justin Fields, and he had some spinners on that field that I took a look, and this is the first time I thought that he was going to be an NFL quarterback at all. And he dropped back, he passed fairly well, he ran really well, and he ran the offense. I mean, he had San Francisco on the ropes for 3/4 of the game.
Yeah, then what happened?
And then it all fell apart. But you know what happened? It fell apart. But, you know, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not done either.
No, so, Trey Lance is going to have to wait his turn.
Trey Lance is going to have to wait his turn.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, because Garoppolo had a pretty good game.
And I don't want to be this guy, but you know, he was the 3rd overall pick, and there were a lot of expectations. But they can't take Jimmy out of the game right now. He knows too much. He's got too much experience. He's too good of a quarterback. So Lance will wait his turn, and then things will happen.
Well, just a couple of the Jets and the Bengals. Son
of a biscuit! I can't even tell you. You know the story. So on our Fantasy Football Weekly show, we have a survivor pick, and 3 of us picked Cincinnati. Boom. So honestly, Sunday afternoon, I think I might have gotten a nap. No, I didn't get a nap in. That's a lie. Anyway, I turned the TV on, and the Jets and the Bengals are on. And I'm like, oh, the Jets are ahead. Oh, I guess it'd be kind of nice if they won. And then I went, wait a minute. I picked Cincinnati my survivor pick. I'm like, I got to start cheering. Well, it didn't help.
Well, no, and
Cincinnati peed down their leg. And,
yeah, and actually it was kind of, I mean, that might have been the best game that the Jets have played in a number of years. And, you know.
So can they take down the Colts tonight? We're recording this on Thursday evening.
We'll see, because they are hot and they believe they can win now.
I'll tell you, you were listening to Fantasy Football Weekly this morning, and Sinigi and Bolstead, they were both all over Carson Wentz said he's going to have another big game. And I said how many interceptions he's going to throw, because I don't know if you saw the interceptions he threw last week. They were bad.
Oh, they were bad.
They were bad.
Yeah, no, he did not have a good game. And
I didn't think he had a good game, but they thought he had a good game. So they're only looking at it fantasy-wise. I'm looking at it performance-wise. But that's not the way they judge Kirk Cousins. We don't look at Kirk Cousins by his fantasy. We judge Kirk Cousins by whether he wins or loses on the show.
Yeah.
It's a different animal. Which there you go. Anyway,
one other game. New Orleans and Tampa. Now,
that 44-year-old guy still can do things.
He can.
I predicted his downfall before the start of the season, but he's proving me wrong. That son of a gun.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
But he lost.
He did lose.
He threw for 375 yards and 4 touchdowns and lost.
And you know, when I saw him at the end of the game, he went over to the New Orleans youngster. I can't remember his name now.
I can't remember either.
He was hugging him.
I got Cooper Rush in my head. I can't get him out of my head.
Yeah, I got Cooper here too.
Yeah. Anyway, and Tom did what?
Oh, he was over patting him on the back and talking to him and actually trying to be an elder statesman of football. You know, take what you will, but a lot of times,
like deflate the ball a little bit so you can grip it a little bit better.
Every once in a while, he has a touch of class, and I thought I saw that.
Every once in a while, he has a touch of class.
Yeah.
Just kind of like Aaron Rodgers has a touch of class.
No,
right?
Aaron Rodgers has no class at all, and you know.
I don't want to get you finish up your thoughts. We'll come to Aaron Rodgers.
Well, the other one, of course, is, you know, the Tennessee Titans are slowly but surely worming their way in my hearts, and I enjoy watching them play, and I like watching Derrick Henry run.
Well, you'll have to wait till next season to watch him run. He's done.
What are we going to do? Well, we call in
Adrian Peterson. AP, yeah.
Isn't that something? And they have basically the same running style. Now, I don't know.
I would agree with that.
I don't know that Adrian has no speed, but I mean they both have a hammering style, a gritty style, and that's what their offense is set for.
Yeah.
So I hope it works out for him. I think Tannehill's having a really good year.
I believe that it was like 13 or 14 years ago today, whatever it was, and today that he rushed for 296 yards and set the single game record for rushing yards, AP that is. So anyway, came across my phone today that it was, I think 2008 or 9. I can't even remember. It's so long ago.
I saw him play his last season with the Vikings, and I mean we were close to the field, and I watched him run, and I had never seen anything so strong move so quick in my life. And when you're on the field with these really superlative running backs, you can't get out of the way. It's happened to me several times. I'm frozen. I can't get out of the way. But he's definitely one of those guys, as is Derrick Henry. So Henry's out for the season, but it should be fun to see what Adrian can do.
Yeah. Does this take Tennessee from a Super Bowl winning contender to a pretender? That is the question that will be asked. It might.
It might.
You don't want to talk about the Vikings at all?
We can talk about the Vikings now. Yes, we should. I mean, Cooper.
So is it Cooper Rush?
Cooper Rush. What kind of? This is the All-American. I mean, this is the All-American scenario.
Okay. Yeah, it was his first start. He's been in the league for 5 years. So he hasn't stuck around for 5 years because he's a bum.
No.
Okay? They would have given him his walking papers if he was a bum. Okay, so here's the thing. This is the part that I don't think people want to believe, or maybe Tim's dumb, I don't know. But I believe this. Everybody else on the Dallas roster was in the game. That includes George and I's offensive line. That was still in place. They still got two of the fastest wide receivers in CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. They still got one of the premier running backs, even though I despise the guy.
Yeah, but Elliott had a hell of a game.
Ezekiel Elliott had a pretty good game. So you put a quarterback into that situation on a team that's 5-1, and the Vikings were 3-3, and then you try to tell me that the Vikings blew it because they scored on the first, and this is what's holding everybody up. Well, we scored so easily on the first series of the game. Hey, people, this is the NFL. These coaches are smart. They watch tape, okay? And they know what plays are going to work early, and then the coaches make adjustments, okay? They just don't sit in the same thing. So you can't sit there, and of course, this is the thing. The Minnesota coaches are being under, because they're not good coaches, because they don't make adjustments. Well, that's the beauty of the game, folks. This is the adjustments. And for Clint Kubiak, who's getting bombarded that he's a sissy, he doesn't have cojones, he's not going down the field. Okay, you guys think you're so smart? Get out there and do that, and come out there and show us how smart you are, all you fantasy gurus who seem to know so much. Here's the thing: he's an offensive coordinator for 4 months now, 3 months. Okay, you got to get a chance to learn.
Well, he has to. And
otherwise, everybody would come out and be the superstar, and everybody would win the Super Bowl. All 32 offensive coordinators would win the Super Bowl every year, according to you people. And it's driving me nuts.
We've both organized offenses. When you're up against a really good defense, it is seriously challenging. And I mean, intellectually, psychologically, the whole works. I mean, these people get their bunks and move them into the tape room. This is how much time they spent. They know every.
I said on our radio show this morning, I'm throwing Justin Jefferson under the bus. I think he took a night off. I think he thought, well, we'll just show up and we'll play. And he gave up on that sluggo route or whatever they're talking about. And he ran down the sideline and he turned and looked at the ball and he paused. And then the ball was this far outside of his reach. Well, guess who got blamed? Not Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins didn't throw the ball to the right place, even though he was the guy that slowed down. You got guys. We didn't press them deep often enough. Well, okay, this is the NFL. They understand that when you come out in certain looks, they can defend you deep. Okay, Dallas has got one of the best defensive backs in the NFL. Okay, we supposedly have some of the best receivers. Okay, But you can't go deep 46 times in a game. It doesn't work that way.
No, you'll lose.
And of course, the naysayers for what I'm saying are say, well, you can't throw short every time. Really? I thought the West Coast offense that won San Francisco 49ers like 5 Super Bowl titles was predicated on running the ball and throwing the ball short, and short. And then you hit Jerry Rice with a 5-yard pass, and he was the guy that went 80. He wasn't the guy streaking down the field. So I want some of these people out there that are thinking that it's so easy and the Vikings are chicken crap and whatever else. Check your facts. Start to understand how the NFL works, because all these passes don't go down the field. Go watch an NFL game and tell me how many passes are thrown over 20 yards. Okay? Is there 12, 14 in a game?
No, you could be a successful NFL quarterback by throwing 25 passes a game, even less.
Ask Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady hasn't thrown a ball past 50 yards in the last 10 years.
No, he doesn't do that too often. But let's get down to some nitgrit.
Oh my gosh.
The Vikings do have some problems.
They do. Yeah. I agree. They do have problems.
Donnell Hunter that's the biggest injury that they're going to have this year. He was really playing well, and he was, how they replace him, I don't know.
They can't.
Yeah.
Team can.
No team can.
We found that out last year. They couldn't replace him when he was out for the year. You can't replace him. When they played Arizona and Kyler Murray in week 2, Danielle Hunter was part of the reason why I felt like Kyler Murray didn't have a bigger game. Yeah, he had a decent game. He had a good game. But he could have had a bigger game, I think, without Danielle Hunter. When we play Lamar Jackson on Sunday, without Danielle Hunter in there, it becomes a little more wide open. I think Zimmer has to change his game plan. He can't just say, we're going to try to box you in and we're going to let our linebackers do what they do. I think they're going to have to put one of the linebackers on Lamar and just say, look, you got to stay here. We're going to have to protect on the outside with one less guy in coverage and take that stuff away. That's Tim's solution, but all you other people, you know way better than I do. Sorry. Okay.
No, there's
no feeling sorry for Tim's self. Come on.
No. But I know how you feel about that Kirk Cousins thing, because he does get dumped on, and there's 11 men on that offense, and everyone is important.
And I agree. He only threw for 184 yards in the game. He did not have his greatest game. There are a lot of people that didn't have their greatest game. I don't think the coaching staff had their greatest game. Mike Zimmer with the timeouts doesn't call one before the half. Calls an extra one in the second half when you can't call back-to-back timeouts. Those kinds of things. But how about the the defense only gave up 20 points. You should win if you only gave up 20 points, possibly. But how about Zeke Elliott squeezing between 2 purple jerseys on 3rd and 9 on a check down? You can't give up. You can't give up a first down there. You got a chance for it to go to overtime, and 2 guys don't make the tackle.
Well, and also
that's not Kirk Cousins' fault, by the way.
The Vikings offense, they went 3 and out, 3 plays in a row.
And we're 1 for 13 on 3rd down in the game. I agree. Things aren't good, but I don't think it's because the Vikings were being timid or whatever.
No.
I don't think like I said, it's.
You're playing against a very good football team here.
Yeah, they were 5-1 for a reason, and of course somebody said, well, they don't have a very good defense. Oh, by the way, did you watch Micah Parsons play for Dallas, number 11? Did you see this guy? He was a man-child out there.
Oh, he was.
Oh, yeah.
And Suggs is, they've got some good people, and they are young. Okay. They are coming onto their own. If you were drafting for a football team, the first few of those drafts would be in the defensive secondary. You got to have them.
So, anyway, the Vikes win or lose against the Ravens.
Well, I think that they can win, but I'm going to have to go with the Ravens on this one.
Yeah, the Ravens do win. Of course, I know Mike Bolstead said he expected Zimmer to be fired on Monday.
Oh, no, that's not.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
But if they get blown out bad by Baltimore, like by 3 touchdowns, I would say yes, it happens. That Zimmer would go. I don't know what they would do, because obviously in all those people's minds out there, Zimmer should go, but Clint Kubiak's not the answer.
No.
And the defensive coordinator probably isn't the answer either, because he's a dumb whatever. So okay, am I done feeling sorry for myself and whoever? Anyway.
Well, they can hire.
Let's talk Gophers.
Okay.
Let's move on.
As long as the Vikings don't hire PJ, then we're in good shape.
Wow.
Well, let's just start with college football. Jerry Kill got himself a job.
Poor by TCU. A guy gives you 22 years.
A national championship.
And you fire him in the middle of the year? I understand they haven't been good for the last few years. I know they gave him the option that they told him they were going to can him at the end of the season, that he could stick it out, and he told them basically, screw you, I'm not sticking around if that's the attitude. Yeah, Jerry Kill, he's a phoenix. He keeps rising from the ashes.
Well, and keep in mind, I mean, the stress of this game put him right down, and so he's jumping into a real furnace here. I wish him all the luck. I always liked Jerry Kill. Listen to him talk one time.
I think he had the program going in the right direction again. Yeah. So,
okay. Anyway, the Gophers, as you can tell, I got my Bronco jersey.
I got a bad question to ask you.
Yeah.
When's the last time you wore that shirt?
At the Bronco football game.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought maybe you wore it on the show that we did right before Bowling Green.
No, I wouldn't have done that.
Oh.
But I do.
Because, Illinois and Bowling Green kind of got the same color scheme, kind of orange.
I'll show you this.
1960 homecoming button against the Illini.
Fighting Illini. Boyle, Illinois. Boyle, Illinois. This was my first Gopher football game that I ever attended.
Nice.
Yeah, 12 years old. Never forget it. Bobby Bell, Sandy Stevens, the whole crew. I mean, they were national champions. This was an incredible football team. But we were in the end zone watching them warm up. I mean, from here to the bar away. Just this was really a bunch of heroes. So. Sure. I want them to Boyle, Illinois one more time. And
absolutely.
I like that Boyle, Illinois thing. It's
So you want to talk about the game from last Saturday first?
Yeah, we can.
Another 300 yards rushing for the offense.
How do you think that comes about?
Jeez, let me think. How would the Gophers rush for 300 plus yards 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah.
Because they got a good quarterback.
They got a good quarterback, yeah.
No, it's because of those 7 offensive linemen up front, guys.
Yeah. It's like having 7 18-wheelers in front of you. And it seems like they're really hurting. They're really hurting for running backs. They
only got 2 scholarship running backs left.
Yeah.
2! And they still got 4 regular season games and a bowl game left. I just pray that. Did you hear Fleck's quote this week? Well, with only 2 scholarship running backs, he said, we basically told the kids, if you carried a football in high school, ever,
we want to talk to you.
We want to see you after this meeting because we're going to get you some reps at the running back because we may need you because in a college game, 3 running backs possibly is a good thing. So I think you're going to see some running backs some wide receivers that are going to be put in the backfield. You're going to see some D-backs that are going to get moved into the backfield to do a little running. And, the scary part is I think we're going to find that 1 or 2 of those guys are going to be fairly successful because of the offensive line.
That's 7 there. And every running back that they've put out so far has been not only a little bit successful, very successful.
5 different guys have rushed for 100 yards.
Yes. Yeah. So I think the offensive line has something to do with it, and I'm looking forward to this game on Saturday. If I can watch 2 games at once, I'll be in good shape.
Trap game.
Yes.
For the Gophers.
Yep.
Could be looking forward to head to Iowa next week. Wisconsin 3 weeks out. Obviously, Wisconsin and Iowa are both a game back. They already beat Purdue, who is also a game back in the West. This game has Trap written all over it. Looking
really
forward.
Does.
The best thing that could have happened to this team to stop that, though, is they lost to Bowling Green a month plus ago, and I don't think this team is going to let that happen again. I hope, because they've got a chance to run the table and go play Ohio State again. My prediction. Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship game, if they take care of business. And the scary part is they could possibly lose one of these last 4 games.
And still be there.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how it
I was looking at the possibility that the Minnesota Gophers could wind up in this town called Pasadena. for the Rose Bowl. And being I'm 72 years old and have never been, I would have to make a serious effort to try to do that one.
You know, we had this conversation 2 years ago, George, sitting right at this table.
I was bad. I shouldn't have brought it up.
And we ended up at the Citrus Bowl or wherever, the Outback Bowl. Which one was it?
That was
Outback Bowl.
Outback Bowl.
Outback Bowl.
They beat up.
I'd be okay with the Outback Bowl as well.
Yeah.
But the Rose Bowl, we'd seriously have to think about breaking the bank.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You got to do it when you can.
So, PJ gets a new contract, $5 million per year plus incentives, which means I suspect like if you win the Big Ten title, you probably get a couple $100,000, maybe $500,000. I don't know the numbers. I'm sure there's ones to deal with how good the boys do in school, grade-wise, how many kids stay with the program, those kinds of things. But there were other colleges coming and knocking and asking about PJ Fleck, and the University of Minnesota could not let PJ Fleck go. I know there's naysayers out there about PJ Fleck. They think he's a flake or whatever else. He's got the program going in the right direction, and you can't let the guy go away.
No, a guy from Michigan at the Big Ten Championship asked me, what do you think of Coach Fleck? And I says, well, at first I thought he was a little bit flaky because, this paddle stuff and row the boat and all the rest of that. I says, but I watch those kids come out of the tunnel and they're waving those paddles around and they think that they can beat anybody that's on that field. And I never saw that in a Minnesota Gopher team before.
Over the last month, I have not heard anybody say row the boat. Honestly, and I follow Gopher football pretty close. I haven't heard anybody Fleck, all of them row the boat. I think they're into it so far right now. They don't need a gimmick.
Yeah.
Okay? They know what's in front of them. They don't need a gimmick. We don't need a saying. They know that they're up to their what's-its and a chance here. And
what they are up to, they're up to their butt in seniors. And before they were up to their butt in freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, now here they are. And, if they're ever going to get a shot at them,
let's keep those running backs healthy.
Let's keep those running backs healthy.
What else college football-wise do you want to discuss?
Well, I follow Army very close, and they're playing Air Force at 10:30 on Saturday at Arlington, Texas. How it wound up between Colorado and West Point.
It's in between them.
It's in between. Yeah, it's in between, kind of. And but that game I'm going to watch very, very closely.
Is that a recruiting trip possibly for those two schools?
That's such a heavy military presence around Arlington, and so whatever it is.
You know what Lou Holtz said about the players from Minnesota. The heart can come from Minnesota, but the feet and the legs got to come from Texas, Florida.
Yeah. And a good amount of Texas's arms and legs do come from other places. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah,
but people say, why do you follow Army? Says, there's no red shirts. You got 4 years to make your presence known there, and then you're done. We've got and he's a beautiful man. I mean, down at UMD, John Larson, he's in his 6th year. And after a while, you just say, here, these are these college kids. They have nothing to play for but each other and the game, because as soon as 4 years is out,
it's over.
It's over, and the Army's got to go, dig ditches or whatever else the Army guys does. But
how about North Dakota State, South Dakota State this coming weekend?
That's going to be a dandy.
Should be a good one.
It should be a good one. But
on ESPN Plus for you, 2:30, 2 o'clock.
Oh, good.
See,
have all three of my.
I got to keep you busy. So that would have my attention.
Where does NDSU get all these quarterbacks? Because this one,
everybody wants to play for a champion, George.
I guess they do. They do. And I think it's that attitude that makes them poco over South Dakota State. It's just, although I watched that South Dakota State team last year, they were a very good football.
They're very good.
And North Dakota as well. I mean, I think that Midwestern football is really pretty strong.
Yeah, that's for sure. So anyway, that's the biggie for me on Saturday. There really is no top 25 games that are pitted. I think there's a Auburn and somebody else play, 13 and 14 play. But to me, the big game is North Dakota State, South Dakota State this weekend. That's just the for a person who lives that close and had relatives that went to both schools. That's the biggie for the weekend. So.
No, I had a daughter that went to North Dakota, but she gave it up to be an educator. I don't know.
Silly. What would
Silly. Why would she do that?
Absolutely. All right, we done with college football?
Yeah,
We're done with pro football. We're done with baseball.
Talk to me about some high school football.
Oh, he wants to talk high school football. Oh. Well, we can do that.
Yeah.
Section championship games tonight. They look up at the clock in about 35 minutes or so. The Moose Lake Willow River will be taking on Mesabi East in the Section 7-2A championship.
And is that in Moose Lake?
That is being played at Esco tonight.
Esco, that's right, Esco.
Neutral site. You might recall that the Rebels beat the Giants 63-0 just a few weeks ago. I expect a similar score tonight, so not worth turning on my radio for that one. Esco versus Aiken tonight at 7 o'clock. That is worth turning on to listen to. I kind of look forward to that one. I got to listen to the end of their regular season game that Esco hung on and won by a score of 14-12. My prediction: the Gobblers take down unbeaten Esco tonight. That's my prediction.
Well, and Aiken's only lost one game as well, right?
Two. I think they lost. I think they lost to somebody else. I don't remember that.
Okay.
Then tomorrow we've got the two 9-man championships: Ogilvie versus Southridge. Southridge had to hang on last Saturday night. Cromwell missed a field goal in the waning seconds. And then MIB versus Cherry. About 3 weeks ago, I would have thought that was going to be a classic matchup. It's going to be a runaway for MIB. If MIB loses that game, hey, if Cherry sticks within 3 touchdowns, I'll be surprised. 1A, you got Deer River versus Barnum, who upset Northwoods last week in convincing fashion. I give the edge to the Warriors. They've been there before. But who knows, with Barnum putting up 48, 32 of it in the second half against Northwoods. And I know Northwoods got a couple of their players nicked, so that could have had something to do with that. Then in 4A, Rapids is taking on number 1 North Branch at PSS. And so we've got some football going on, some good stuff. And of course, last Saturday, the Broncos lost to Moose Lake Willow River 63-26. And everybody I know, when they said the score, they're like, holy crap, they got killed. And I'm like, they scored 4 touchdowns. Yeah. They'd only given up 4 touchdowns in 6 games. They played 6 regular season games and gave up 4 touchdowns. We scored 4 in 1 game. And then they kind of mellowed about their haste for the Broncos.
No, actually the Broncos offensively, I thought they did fairly well, and defensively, they had that incredible offensive line to deal with. Again, Moose Lake Willow River has the best offensive line I've seen this year, and that really takes a bearing on you after a while, and you have to have very good line play, and they just got out hammered by that line, and they have a pretty good running back too, but they're a little bit weak at the quarterback, and like you say, I'm not sure how well they can throw the ball. They really haven't had to, and
that's the biggest thing, they haven't had to, and at some point they're going to have to, and that's going to be the Achilles heel, and
it will.
But we'll see. I predict that they play down in the Dome at some point down at US Bank, at least make the semis. But it all depends upon who they draw and how all that stuff works out. So, but they've got the best chance to make it to the Dome of any of those teams. I don't know who Deer River gets possibly in the state quarters, but watch next week. We'll have it all taken care of. And of course, volleyball is coming. As long as we're in the high school ranks, we might as well talk about volleyball because the 3 sections had their semifinals last night, and I got to watch a couple of good matches in Hermantown as Greenway and Proctor came through and won their matches, and then Grand Rapids will take on Cloquet, and I get to call a doubleheader. That's why I'm not worried about college football this weekend, because I get to do a Grand Rapids volleyball game at 1 o'clock and then the Greenway game at 4 o'clock for KMFY.
Yeah, you're a regional play-by-play man.
When you're a gunslinger, you go out there and you sell your gun on.
It's gopher time.
It's gopher time.
It's gopher time.
So. Yeah. So anyway, the volleyball coming to a tee on the weekend, and Northeast Range and South Ridge, two old county schools. They're going to play for the section championship. Southridge down 2 sets and down 22-20.
Ooh.
Come back and take the 3rd set, win the 4th set, and then they won the 5th set 16-14. So that's a little bit about my old school and my old stomping ground. So Southridge is a little soft spot in my heart. Southridge is going to do no worse than 2nd in the volleyball in the section. They're going to do no worse than 2nd in the football. And the Southridge cross-country team...
Are they strong in seniors in these programs?
No.
No, they're not. Well, that's good.
So, you know, you do what you got to do. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I think that takes care of swimming sections next week. Thursday and Saturday, we should throw that out there. Hockey season got started on Monday for the girls hockey team. New head coach Aaron Hall, and a guy that I think you might know maybe a little bit through the years, skating out there as an assistant coach.
Who's that?
Well, a 1972 graduate.
72 grad.
Played on the state championship hockey team.
Johnny P?
No.
No.
How about Jim Knapp?
Jimmy Knapp is there.
Jimmy Knapp is out there helping the girls hockey program.
Good man, Jimmy Knapp. Lived across the street from me.
So good job, Jimmy Knapp, out there, and you know, he's got a lot of experience.
He does. No, so, actually,
glad that he's sharing it with.
He has a resume that everybody else around here could only hope for. Yeah. He's a super guy.
Super guy, yeah, absolutely. Super guy. So, I think that takes care of the high school ranks.
Okay.
You want to talk hockey?
We should talk a little bit about NHL. The Wild, everybody's scoring goals, but our boy Kirill.
He broke through.
He did. He got
broke
one
through the other night in overtime. Finally got off the schneid, as Anthony LaPanta said. He got the overtime winner. You know, they were playing Ottawa. They're up 3-1. And they're behind 4-3. They get it to 4-4 and went to overtime. And Fiala and Kaprizov out there at the same time. And honestly, folks, if you haven't seen the goal, go online, look at it. And I'm going to say it this way, George. I could have scored the goal. The goaltender was way out of the net. All Kirill had to do was put it in the 24 square feet, and he did that. And his celebration is the class, because I'll try to demonstrate with my sore legs, because after he scored, he did this. It looked like he was downhill skiing.
Oh,
like he was getting into his crouch, and I'm like, but that's how excited he was.
He was saying, my God, I'm glad this is finally over.
It's finally over.
It's finally over. And Fiala wasn't playing all that well either, and it's just like, as a line, they weren't scoring.
And of course, you know, if you listen to Dean Evison, the head coach now, and I know how some of you people out there feel about our head coaches, he was saying, you know what? They're gripping the stick a little, basically they're gripping the stick a little too hard. They're trying to do too much. Let the game come to you, and things will work out. He said they're playing good hockey. Try maybe to do too much. Other than that, things are going to fall into place. They're 6-3 now. They go to Pittsburgh on Saturday, and then then they get the Islanders on Sunday, I believe, at home. And no Sidney Crosby because he's out with COVID.
He is.
So that makes things a little easier when you go to Pittsburgh. But the Wild, a good start. I know a lot of people panicking when they lost to the Kraken last week. Oh my gosh, they lost to an expansion team 4-1. Hey folks, it was 2-1 till there was 1 minute left in the game, and they pulled the goaltender and they scored twice. So let's not panic.
Oh, and what about that building job that they had in Las Vegas a couple of years ago? They took it right to the top. And it's just like, you know, when you can draft some of the top talent in the league, that helps.
Absolutely. Alex Tuck, former Wild, that got selected by Vegas, is now a Buffalo Sabre. He got traded today, which makes you scratch your head a little bit. But Vegas picked up Jake Eichel, and Eichel was, you know, he was the number 1 pick. I don't remember how many years ago, and him and Buffalo weren't getting along very well, and I think he wanted to get surgery, and they didn't, or however it all works. Anyway, they finally traded him. Vegas gave up a lot. I think Buffalo did very well for themselves, and Buffalo's got a pretty good record now. So I think Buffalo did well for themselves, and we'll see how it all works out. But the Wild they're okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
I think they'll be all right.
I think they will be too. Those goalies will go on a an unbelievable streak, and they won't get any goals.
Carolina is 9-0 to start the season.
Yeah, how does that happen?
9-0.
You explain that one. That was not a prediction of yours.
No, I didn't see that coming. I don't know if Nino Niederreiter, there's a name drop for you. I don't know if he's still playing for Carolina, if he's gone someplace else. But anyway, that's the big surprise, I think, for the NHL. And
so what's the record for wins and losses opening?
Start of season. Wow, that I don't know. That's a great question.
Well, they were talking about when they were 8-0 or 7-0 that this was, that nobody else had attained that.
We'll have to. Well, I may have to do some digging. Sounds like a good investigative work to do.
You know, I get a Lindy's for NBA and 2 or 3 for Lindy's for football. I do not have a Lindy's for hockey, and I should.
You should think about getting there,
one,
huh?
Yeah.
Well, as long as you brought up basketball, I suppose we should start with the Timberwolves, who have looked not so good over the last 3 games or so.
Offensively, they've been all right.
Giving up 45-point quarters is a bad
habit.
Back-to-back games.
That's bad habit.
The Clippers shot 85% in the third quarter. For 12 minutes, they shot 85%. That means that they made like 6 out of every 7. They shot 60% for the game. Now, everybody, you could say, well, that's bad defense.
No.
Not in the NBA necessarily. Sometimes they shoot that well. So they get the Clippers again tomorrow night. We'll see if they can right the ship.
Well, they were draining them. They really were draining them, and you can't defend that. They're out there just popping. What are you going to do?
Yep, exactly right. So anyway, NBA. Other than that, I don't know if there's a whole bunch out there other than Golden State is 6-1.
Yeah.
Chicago is 6-1.
And
that's probably the bigger surprise. The Lakers are 5-3.
Oh, they are. They've won a few.
They've come back. LeBron had a big night the other night. Now he's got an abdominal strain, I think I saw today. So he's out of tonight's game. And, of course, the Lakers will probably win by like 40 and nobody will say anything. We got to talk college basketball. What is the guru saying about the Gophers?
Well, he's not saying too much about the Gophers. It's kind of a wait and see type deal. But when they play Concordia, that doesn't
St.
really
Paul,
cover
and they only win by 13 points.
No, that was the question. They seem to score all right, but they let 66 points in from that team, and it's just like that's a whole bunch.
They got out-rebounded by a Division II school.
Yeah, no, that's
ick.
And that's.
But they made 11 of 19 threes.
They can shoot.
That's better than 50%.
I'm more concerned about the rebounds myself, but
you're not going to shoot like that in every game, but you can. Rebounding is hustle and getting in position.
It really is, and in the Big Ten, it's more like playing football than basketball, and it's a grind.
See, now we're going to bring back up what we talked about in March and April last spring when. Does the Big Ten need to become less of a grind league and start playing more soft so that
they can run up and down
they can play with the other teams that are kicking their butt when it comes to the NCAA tournament?
Well, every time they put that NCAA tournament, what surprises me is that talent seems to float to the top. And all of a sudden UCLA has a couple of brothers that get up and down the court and score at will, and the guys over, the rest of them, they've got the same kind of situation,
Chet Holmgren was getting lots and lots of love on the internet today.
Oh, I bet he
was.
How
good he is, and of course, the regular season starts next week for college basketball. The Gophers host Kansas City on Tuesday, but the basketball really starts in earnest. I don't know how ESPN is going to keep the NBA, the NHL, and college basketball on the air, but they're going to have to find some way to do it.
Well, that's why you have ESPN on your computers.
There you go. See? George has got the solution.
Oh.
He'll take care of that for us.
My wife thinks I'm crazy, though. But other than that, I can't.
She knows. She's probably right. There's a lot of people out there now. Okay, so we got basketball, baseball. Did we get them all out of the way?
We did.
How about curling? You guys watch any of the curling last week?
I'll tell you what, they had a big article in the Minneapolis Tribune about this. This was no small deal in Everett last weekend.
Yeah, Everett hosted the mixed doubles curling. Chris Plies out of Duluth and Vicky Persinger out of Anchorage, Fairbanks, Alaska, excuse me. They were the winners, and Tim Melstrom was there and watched over the weekend, and I was jealous because I wanted to be there in the worst way, but just didn't work into the schedule. But I got a chance to watch it on TV on Sunday, flipping between the Vikings game and curling. Got to do what you got to do, folks.
You should have stuck with the curling, but
got to do what you got to do. And anyway, having said all that, the curling was fun to watch, and of course, the Olympics are 3 months away.
Isn't that something?
I don't know when we're going to sleep, George. Because it's all going to be on in the middle of the night. It's in China.
No,
when are we going to sleep?
You know, now that football's over, I've got another project I've been working on that I can see me finding time to actually read books and write, and I can do this stuff. I'm pretty sure, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. You said you were going to talk about Tom Maddy or something.
We're going to talk about Tom Maddy. Tom Maddy died on Tuesday, and Tom Maddy played for Ohio State. He was a quarterback at Ohio State in the early 60s, and he reminded me of Hill at New Orleans. He just was tough. And so he was playing running back, and he was playing a receiver for Baltimore Colts. And then high top Johnny U, he went down, and I'm pretty sure the backup probably was Earl Morrow, and then he went down, so they were without a quarterback, but they knew that Tom Maddy could play the position, and they came up, and everybody was talking about it, a wristband with all the notes on there. And you would see him, and the people were just, look at that, what a smart idea. Look, now you take a look at what he had down there. There was about 5 or 6 plays. There wasn't that many. And now you have pretty much your whole playbook on there if you design it just right. But he was really, really a tough guy, and he took the team to the NFC Championship, and I believe they won. And it's but he was one of those kids that just was tough, just loved playing the game. He lived to be 83 years old, and there's nobody that wasn't a fan of NFL football in the 60s that didn't know about Tom Maddy. He was the guy that came off the street and quarterbacked the Baltimore Colts. And so we're going to miss Tom Maddy, and he was just really an amazing ball player. And I mean, filling in for Johnny U.
Okay, so and filling in for Johnny U. So there's 2 topics that we were going to talk about. One that I mentioned, the other one I didn't. We got to talk about Aaron Rodgers.
We have to talk about
Aaron Rodgers, to finish this up, told everybody he was vaccinated or was it immunized. We found out this week that he's tested positive for COVID. Then we found out that he wasn't immunized, which means he should have been wearing a mask to all the meetings and the press conferences, which he didn't do. Apparently, obviously he was aware of this. Apparently the Packers were aware of this, and the NFL was aware of this. So some gurus out there on ESPN and Fox Sports are saying that Aaron Rodgers has to be suspended. He's going to miss at least 1 game. They're saying he should miss at least 3. What about the Green Bay Packers? They knew what was going on, let him do this. So how many draft picks should the Packers lose? That's the next question. And apparently the NFL was obviously aware of this, and they've got people that are from the NFL that are with each team to make sure that somebody outside of the organization is making sure that the teams do what they're supposed to do.
You know, what's amazing is that
they didn't enforce it.
What's amazing is that they thought that nobody would bring it up. And it
wouldn't have come up if he wouldn't have tested positive for COVID. Nobody would have said anything. It would have just gone the way of the world because he's Aaron Rodgers, because they're Tom Brady.
There's a level of egotism that is just, you can't be egotistical to the point where you're harming somebody else's health. And he just kind of, I can do this, like you say, because I'm a narcissist and I'm Aaron Rodgers and I throw a good football. Yeah, throwing a good football does not make you a great human being. And in this case, he thought a lot of his legitimacy tossed right out the window.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to watch a little bit of Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless this morning on Undisputed for a few minutes, and Skip Bayless was so embarrassed by what Shannon Sharpe was saying basically saying to Aaron Rodgers, you're a liar and you've lost everything. You should lose basically everything that you had, essentially, I think was the point he was trying to make. That Bayless couldn't even look across the table at him. He had to look down because Sharp was going over the edge. I flipped it over to ESPN for a couple minutes to see if they were talking about it. Obviously they were. They were going after Aaron Rodgers, and then they came up about Odell Beckham Jr. and his father and whatever else, and now Beckham, Stefanski told the team on Tuesday that he was no longer a part of the team. Then today they told him that he was exempt from practice, and basically Odell Beckham Jr. is probably done with the Cleveland Browns, and the question is who's going to pick him up?
And the question is, how did you possibly predict this? You know,
yeah,
this is just, he's been doing this for a long time.
The guys on ESPN were using the C word. He's a cancer. You can't have him on your team.
And how many teams have tried this?
You know what the scary part about this whole thing is? They were predicting that they're going to waive him. That Cleveland will waive him tomorrow.
And who's going to pick him up?
Well, you got to pick up $8.2 million worth of salary. There's one team that has $11 million of cap space right now.
The Patriots?
The Baltimore Ravens.
The Ravens.
In division, in the same division, and playing the Vikings this weekend. Oh. Not that he did anything against the Vikings when they played us the first time.
He hasn't really cut loose this season.
No, he can't. He's lost it. The knee injury, the ACL injury took care of that.
Well, these receivers,
he doesn't have the explosiveness.
They really have to be able to cut. They're ballet dancers as much as they are football players, and I don't think he could do that. He looks sluggish out there.
Yeah, he doesn't have the explosion. No. And yeah, do quarterbacks miss open receivers? We know that they do. So anyway, interesting stuff.
It is.
Had to throw those two things in there. Aaron Rodgers, all the good things that I should have never said about you, I got to take away.
Well, that's okay, and we'll bring it up again next week when we see how it goes.
All right, thanks everybody.
Bye.